It's a funny for you, Mobibia, Quava, some kind of bay daily update TV. So, Hannah Babinya trending news, I so, yes, I find any source and any decana by needing no book. So, now I subscribe my name being news be no CBA, who being a notification or phone so no about shame. I think so bit me so I share more down for so any biashe. Yes, I go straight to a moderator and echo that sorry, I hear to the Tamaklu and our babon think you can boss us and batch Mensa. Well, Kasan Nani Bufu I said, don't try this nonsense in 2024 election, either the presidency or the parliamentary. Also, the assembly election is going baby na a bald papers being by the label in Krampo, no percentage, jay any idea. No, don't try this nonsense in 2024. But you can say, who the hell is James? And it's a bro, or Casa, a buffos, no Casa. We no can say Ghana doesn't belong to a Akufo because Ghana for some pain indelible in the should say ampa a year nipa e what nipa b what now one for indelible ink number. Everything now cover. I mean to ya boss on what two. I mean with my to bed 10. I bend the label ink and should say ampa what baba. When is my ear is was it temaculo egg can in some more sheep. I can in good things semi brow kind more sheep.
Then they'll get a lawyer from the Attorney General Department to assist in putting the constitutional instrument together. Madam Jane Mensah in 2020 decided that she would do this instrument by herself without the input of the political parties. Granted for whatever it's worth. You went through Parliament. Now it has become law under Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution. And let me just reference what is in Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution. It says, any order, rule, or regulation made by a person or an authority under power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall. So you notice that she drew her power to make this instrument under Article 51. So it says, shall be laid before Parliament, be published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament. In fact, she laid this, the Gazette notification demonstrates 2nd July 2020. And now see, shall come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so late, unless Parliament, before the expiration of the 21 days, announce the order, rule, regulation by a vote of no less than 2/3. So you see, even this is a law that they're making it. To even abort the process, you need 2/3 of Parliament. The law went through Parliament's, parliamentary proceeding, consistent with Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution. So it has become law, recognized by the Constitution of the Republic. So who the hell is Madam Jane Mensah? That she can, by a stroke of pen, administratively say that this election you will not use indelible ink. So she has no respect even for Parliament that considered this instrument. What does she think she is? And hold on, the 1992 Constitution, okay, in Article 2, says that Ghanaians must resist unlawful conduct. It's in the Constitution. Into their hands. The NDC has served notice, which notice was served by the national chairman of the party in the person of Johnson Asidu Enkitia in the last press conference held, that the NDC is diametrically opposed by this capricious decision by Madame Jane Mensah to do away with indelible ink in our public elections. It's important to make this point, that Madame Jane Mensah should recognize that she is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, not of a banana republic, but a country governed by laws. You see, Madame J. Mensah, from the time Akufo-Addo removed Charlotte Osei and placed her in that position, had come to the conclusion that her continued stay in office, right, is not predicated on the 1992 Constitution, but as long as the NPP stays in power.
Oh.
And so, everything that she had been doing right from the time Charlotte Osei was removed and she became the replacement is to undermine our electoral processes consistently. And I'll demonstrate a few. If you recall, in 2020, December the 6th, in a very whimsical and capricious manner, just by a stroke of pen, nothing more, nothing else, she decided to disenfranchise over 15,000 people in Central Kofi, Akpafu, Likwe, and Lolobi. Just by a stroke of pen. And nobody has held this woman to account for that conduct. In fact, that misconduct. And so, in the 2020 election petition, once again, through legal engineering, she was prevented from testifying about her own work. And so Madame Jane Mensah feels emboldened that she is Lord unto herself. She will not respect the laws of this republic, and she will do what pleases her. But we are serving notice that she won't have it this time. No, she won't. Listen, Madame Jane Mensah herself made a constitutional instrument, CI 127. Incidentally, before making this instrument, she took it before the Parliament of this Republic upon Gazette notification dated the 2nd July 2020. Curiously, this law that Madame Jane Mensah made herself, she had decided to put the law aside and do what pleases her. Arguably, why would anybody want to put a law that she herself played before the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, went through the 21 gestation period? Why would she want to do that? Impunity. 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 And so Madame Jane Mensah even now feels that Ghana is no longer a country governed by laws, but a country governed by the wishes of Madame Jane Mensah. This is the instrument she herself took to Parliament, Regulation 33. I just want to read for our listeners. And if you look at the preamble, it says, I just want to quote that portion. It said, in the exercise of the powers conferred on the Electoral Commission by Article 51 of the Constitution, these regulations are made this first day of July 2020. Now, if you look at the very tail end, the person who signed it is no other person but Madame Jane Mensah. Now, guess what Madame Jane Mensah has decided to do, contrary to what is in the law, Regulation 33 2C. When I was coming, I decided to screenshot that portion for my analysis. Now, if you look at Regulation 33 2C, let me start the whole of 2 so you can see the import. 33.1. It says, a voter who desires to vote shall be present at the allotted station, and the presiding officer or polling assistant shall, after being satisfied that A is a voter, registered, and has not already voted, or deliver the ballot paper to the voter. Now, 2, that's sub-regulation 2. Immediately, now listen, immediately before the ballot paper is delivered to the voter, before the ballot paper is delivered to the voter, the ballot paper shall be marked with the official validating stamp of the commission. B, a mark shall be placed on the copy of the register against the number of the voter to indicate that the ballot paper has already been received. And C, a mark shall, not may. It is not discretionary. It says a mark shall, so far as possible, be permanent, shall be made on the voter before the ballot paper will even be issued to you. This is what is in the law. So who is Madam Jane Mensah? To be doing as it pleases her. Who is she? What does it think she is?
So it's right to consider what happened in the Assembly's election as illegal?
That's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
But I'm saying that I don't want to get distracted. I am focused on the presidential election of 2024 and the parliamentary. That is where my attention is. And I'm saying that this capricious decision by her in the last assembly election on the 19th December 2023 should be the end. She should not try this nonsense in 2024. We will not take it. That one, we will not take it. And this thing that we are saying, you see, Madam Jane Mensah is toying with the peace of this country. And moral society in this country, the clergy, imams, opinion leaders, traditional leaders are quiet. Once this woman consistently drags this country into an abyss. And we need to be very careful. We need to be careful. Because you see, if there was no legal provision and the matter left for her to decide, that is a different ball game altogether. This one, she made this instrument. I recall, at the time when she was making this instrument, some of us had an issue with it. What were the issues? We have always said that in making constitutional instrument by the Electoral Commission, the EC had always relied on the input of political parties. And so, there was a subcommittee at IPAC responsible for putting together this constitutional instrument. The NDC rep on that committee has always been our first General Secretary, Lawyer Hudu Yaya. The MPP usually changes, either Obi Amwa or sometimes Dan Botwe or so. That time, CPP used to have Kwabena Bonfe on that committee.
For we know, in city first of the Navy, we know about biometric name, indelible ink na Jane Mensah no Kwabra numbers of Bepano. You say a district assembly election on or yema at any time. National Television crowd I died to about National Television for client Timan to a member. Rana cousin or cousin, indelible ink in our pese or busy frame no. Like a big quitty a year multiple a year. Voting na brother can say previous years na terminal na odilities and voters phobia or pen common pen would later man for film say omuntimin to aba common pen in the way no na buofu okay can boss asempa church na any asem ketwa in himself to do na otins man na makulu can exam na no dey pa old school a year Jane Mensah about elections na is a bason. But I can manage some good things in P. I can want interested by them come to training in a
CI 127 was made pursuant to powers conferred on her under this constitution by reason of Article 51. And so if she decides in a very capricious manner, the constitution enjoins us to protect this constitution against people like Jane Mensah.
Okay, I know there are various ways of resisting, but you know the platform of political, that's the political platform of making decisions was provided for you. The NDC excused itself for various reasons. I think last year I read somewhere that she called for all the parties to come back to IPAC so that you can make these decisions. How are you going to, are you just going to go straight to court, or you go back to IPAC so that you can make it clear to her that, well, this is a law, so you can't just by the stroke of pen make changes to it? How are you going to do it?
You see, the NDC has been part of the constitutional arrangements that we have had for the past 30-something years. The inception of IPAC around 1996, the NDC has been so very critical with this. In fact, something ironical happened. Whilst Madame Jane Mensah was then the IEA boss, she had always advocated for consensus building by the then Electoral Commission chairpersons Afarijan and Charlotte Osei. Her IEA used to organize programs for political parties to dialogue, to reach consensus, and to ensure that the even decisions by the Electoral Commission are not one that just come off without consulting the political parties. In fact, if you check the involvement of the IEA from 2010 on even moving the voter register into a biometric system, the evidence is there.
So can I come in now?
No, you will. Now, what you notice, what you notice is that the NDC felt that the Jane Mensah that we knew at IEA, that respected dialogue, respected consensus building, having been made the Electoral Commission chairperson, will bring these lofty democratic ideas to the office. I don't know whether she works under the direct instruction of Mr. Akufo-Addo or Bawumia. Immediately this woman became the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, she jettisoned all these consensus building. And at a point even said, IPAC is just advisory. And so she's not bound by the decision of IPAC. And that she will do what pleases her. If I should tell you, Annie, that your advice matters not to me, would you advise me again for whatever is worth? Let me give you a classic example. The last limited registration exercise that she conducted from the 12th of September to 2nd October, she called an IPAC meeting. The political parties met her. At that meeting, it was Bosman Asari who met the political parties. And the political parties said, listen, you want to conduct limited registration exercise, do it in the electoral areas so that mobilizing will be registrants becomes easy. Bosman felt that, well, there was something reason because the CI 126 that she herself made in 2020 for the 2020 registration exercise clearly provided that in deciding the choice of a polling or registration center, consider two factors: suitability, critical suitability. This woman decided from nowhere that she was going to do the limited registration exercise in the district offices. Contrary to even what Bosman Asari and the other political parties had made. You understand? Yeah. So we need to get to the point where we understand the mindset of Madame Jane Mensah. That it is not that the NDC is not willing to partake in deliberations at IPAC. This woman has demonstrated disdain, scorn for consensus building. She believes that she has the backing of Akufo-Addo, and so she can do anything that pleases her. We are serving this notice to her that Ghana does not belong to Jane Mensah or Akufo-Addo or Dr. Bawumia. It belongs to all of us.
Right.
And it requires the collective, workings of both NDC and NPP to sustain this democracy. She should not take what is happening for granted.
Right, I'll get back to you. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I think let's Damascus moment and change her ways. You see, Annie, whilst listening to Honorable, I felt that being an MP, he would want to urge the commission chairperson to respect laws that came before Parliament. I didn't get that, vibe from him. And he tried to, I'm sure he's trying to weigh what position his party will have so that it doesn't look like he's opposed to the reasoning of his party. So he, in most instances, even trivialized the conversation. You see, it is convenient to say in the US you can use social security number to vote. But if you recall, even when we did the biometric voter register, even the use of National Health Insurance card for the purpose of just identifying somebody together with harvesting the person's biometrics, the MPP rushed to the Supreme Court. Possibly you are not aware. I can understand. The claim is that because we have a biometric voters register, it is convenient to do away with the use of the indelible ink. As at 2020, when Madam Jane Mensah was making CI 127, right, she knew that we had a biometric register because Regulation 32 of CI 127 recognizes two modes of verifying a candidate: biometric verification and manual verification. If you recall, Madam Jane Mensah's claim for destroying the previous biometric register and compiling a new one was that she wanted to introduce another layer called what? Facial recognition. You recall? Suddenly we all became experts in facial recognition. Did she use that in the 2020 election? Did she use it? No. Because she knew that that additional layer will make the register stronger. So we had only two options.
She didn't want to make the register stronger.
For whatever is worth. So we had only two options: biometric verification under Regulation 32(1) and manual verification. These two verification modes are recognized under CI 127, made by Jane Mensah herself. Now, when you verify somebody manually, what mark will be on the person if there's no indelible ink? Honorable, you have gone through an election. So you should appreciate these dynamics, that there are two modes. Some people, by reason of fiscal limitations, right, you are not able to harvest their biometrics.
Biometrics, okay.
If you look at the Constitution, Article 42, it recognizes only 3 limits to your right to vote. Only 3, nothing more. And it says here, every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and is entitled to be registered to be a voter. So only 3, citizenship, 18 years and above, and soundness of mind. The consensus is that unless you get medical certification that the person is mad, it's extremely difficult to prove soundness of mind. So if you look at the two political parties, what we have always had the engagement on is citizenship and the issue of minors, right? Now, the CI itself recognizes that there are limitations inherently in the biometric register, and therefore introduce another layer called manual verification. You see, Joseph Stalin of Great Russia once made a point. He said, the people who vote don't matter. The people who matter are those who count the votes. Yes, Joseph Stalin. You know why? You know why? A mischievous electoral commission official can decide to do more manual verification than biometric. And once she does it, do you know the end result? Without the indelible ink, multiple voting. And all you need to do is to ensure that if there are 750 registered voters here, ensure that only 700. So the question of overvoting does not arise. And this is what Jane Mensah wants to do. She is not aware we know her plans. Look, and you see the thing that we say.
This is what you are alleging.
No, the thing that we say, we are not, as it were, just sitting somewhere. She did it in the 2020 election. Do you know why she did?
Was she?
The 2020.
Was she at the polling center?
Oh, I'll let you know.
No, lawyer.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
When Parliament passed CI 127. In CI 127, as the schedule, it has a schedule. The forms of each of the documents to be used for the election. One of the documents is Form 8B. Anybody who has been part of our election knows that Form 8B is the presidential statement of election for the president. In that, what Parliament approved, that is attached to the CI 127, there are two columns. The last column is ballot accounting. The reason for ballot accounting is to ensure that you account for each one of the ballot papers issued. And the reasoning is that if you have a situation where Honorable Adomako here is going into an election, right? And you cannot account for the ballot, it allows for manipulation of votes. So you know what Parliament did? The schedule, the Form 8B that Parliament approved, had a column under paragraph 6. That column is divided into two. A, number of persons biometrically verified, that is using the BVD. Then you have number of persons manually verified. The reason for
for any news about to Jawasemi for a pemas my Timoswani, so I'm not news a coin some get one. In says the Tamako in some can nor the power because I don't try this don't try this nonsense now course or assembly election. Don't try it. Who the hell is AJ Mensah to say? Okay, can it was MJ power? Every customer can say Ghana doesn't belong to a Akufado and as MPP Manukono. Name of Ghana, Ghana, will be a mine. Broadcast no cars, I the label ink in biometric na a year, James Apaso ye frame no ain't china because I want a strong one in parents as I was saying, a election but no name as a war regulation and dear but no anyas and papa. Was it previous year's nature no we a voters for required me if we voters registration name come but I say 1 weeks near the idea I was preparing on naked anyas and get to I won't send me brother but to ja. Na interested maybe this is a million adwin chika career found or adwin channel bro comments such a thing so pitim so share more than for so any be subscribe my need no book and so they will be at by daily battery.